So welcome to another installment of Exploring Consciousness with the Earth Nouveau Hub. And today is a big, strong full moon. And we have some sort of a guided subject today. We're going to talk about sort of winning versus losing in a changing world, where, you know, how can we win or lose, for that matter, in a world that is going towards non-competition, non-hierarchy, sovereignty, and all of that. Before we go into this, I do want to just, touch quickly, obviously, on the full moon today. And Tanya is going to give us a little rundown what's happening and, what people might experience or not. And then you can give your comments on that too.
So I love what Lana posted earlier about joy and love and happiness, because to me, a full moon is always about, that overflowing bounty. But one of the things that's really interesting to me that's going on right now with the astrological alignments with this full moon is a square between Taurus and Uranus, or like Venus. And so this really grounded energy versus this energy of change, this energy of rapid change and like revolutionary change. And I find it interesting. My husband and I were watching TCM, the movie channel last night, and the movie that was on was Elephant Walk, which was Elizabeth Taylor and Dana Andrews, and it was shot somewhat in Sri Lanka, which what used to be called Ceylon, and there was just a big revolution there, where the people threw out the corrupt government, and they've just installed a new prime minister today. So we'll see what happens there. But that's the energy, this energy of the planet, Uranus, which is like very, very revolutionary. So I think just kind of really being mindful about all of the changes, that we're seeing, here in the States and all over the world, right? So sitting though, and grounding that and staying in our own center, right? Being grounded and present and just in that space of love and joy and happiness, because then we're working like the pebble in the pond. So,
I have another point on that same thing, we're twisting the sphere a little bit. So what I was given, Tanya, to add to yours is that this is like in that cycle of income and outgoing, imagining, and then the willpower to bring it forth, feminine, masculine. And so this is actually like seeing the divine masculine and its perfection coming out into 3D world. And it's a perfect time for everybody to step out into their own, and me too, me, obviously, I always find that whatever I'm talking about are the things that I'm like, working on, or the people I meet are working on the same thing. So it's acknowledging that divine masculine within ourselves to say, yes, I can do it, and fuck you, I don't care if I'm a girl, I'm going to do it anyway. It's that attitude, but we're taking it individually, girls and guys, but it's that masculine part of you that goes forth and brings it, like everybody standing up and saying no to the government. The countries around the world that are doing this is amazing. So, that too is part of just another same thing that you were talking about, Tanya, but just expanding it a bit. So that's my give, sorry.
Thank you, and it leads us nicely actually into our subject, into our topic today, because you were just saying, I'll do it no matter what you think.
Yeah.
And I'll do it my way. And we have been looking into the Wimbledon final in particular, or the run up to it and the players a little bit, because I think the final very much resembled exactly that energy that you have just mentioned here, both of you. It's like we're doing it our way, and it can work. And it doesn't matter how diverse it is, it can still work. And in fact, it can work even better because
Yeah.
it's really bringing out the leadership by being that unique us and bringing forth other people to
It's like it's just let me throw 3 words in. It's creating a sphere instead of a singular line. Okay, everybody connects and makes the sphere so we can go out in multi directions and multi fashions.
okay, fabulous. Yeah, think of that as we are moving beyond linearity. So who has watched, or who knows the 2 players? Who knows a little bit about, we're talking about the Australian player Kyrgios, who has been very controversial from the very beginning and who has been my favorite from the very beginning. And he's the one, when he plays, my heart goes like this. Yeah.
What are they playing? I'm sorry, I'm behind the ball.
Tennis.
Oh, tennis. Yeah. Ooh.
You know, and that leads us nicely. It leads us into the world of athletes. It's a sport that we can all sort of relate to, even if you don't play it. I'm not a player. You know, I used to play a little bit, but you know, I'm not really. I'm more interested, obviously, in the mind games. Mind games, as we're talking about games here and playing, and then we have the finalist, who out of us was Novak Djokovic, and as a completely different player, completely different way of mindset, both of them, and individually both uniquely strong. And I'm probably just going to say what I need to say, and then you all come in. For me, the beauty of it was to see both of them stick to their game. Djokovic, obviously, being such a professional player, not going into distraction whatsoever, what was happening on the other side, and staying in a complete non-judgmental place, and which became an honoring. It was a complete honoring of what was happening on the other side. And even Kyrgios, I mean, I've never seen him play so well, you know, especially the first set was amazing. And I mean, he's an amazing player anyway, you know. But for me, the most profound thing was at the end, where you know, Kyrgios just said, you know, look at that composure, without needing to be reprimanded for certain self-talk or certain, you know, reactions on his side. There wasn't even a discussion on that. The learning or the lesson was so obvious to him without needing to be told how he could improve or not. It was true leadership on Djokovic's side, as far as I'm concerned. And for me, it's showing that energy, like, yes, you can still win something, but not necessarily the other one doesn't have to lose. It is a win. This was a win-win situation, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, you can play and have a competition without somebody walking away feeling a loser.
Now, it was played on international stage, on an international stage. Did you guys look at this, at the behind, what was going on? It's just amazing. But anyway, I open the floor for you guys to come in and say whatever you want to say.
I want to add something. I feel like I talk a lot when I get on here. I actually have personal experiences with 3 female tennis pros, Serena and Venus Williams. Their father used to come to a charter school that I was one of 3 teachers at for 6th, 7th, and 8th graders for 8 years. And he provided our kids with a reading program incentive that if they would read so many books, he would buy them a brand new pair of Nike high tops. And he made his fortune collecting, going to places that salvaged things or collected things and took stuff out of them that people didn't want to deal with, that were a fortune, and it made him a millionaire, and it gave him the ability to send them to tennis lessons so that they could go to tennis life. And, you know, you see him on the street and you just think he's a regular old black man, you know, just a typical guy, nothing special, nothing. And then also Chris Everett, I taught her oldest son in 2-year-old's taught class. And she was married to a pro skier. You know, he was an Olympic skier, I believe. So this little boy had 2 parents that were pros in some field. But anyway, my thought of it, Martina, was there's 3 female tennis players here who all come onto the court with a different personality, a different manner, a different way of approaching things, but a strength, you know, a strength, a determination to follow through. And, you know, and they all had that. And so when you spoke of them, you know, it was like, wow, I can't believe that, you know. And then I also got to see the tennis player who was the young worldwide champion. She wasn't very tall. She was from European countries. To me, she was probably, anyway, I got to see her in Miami at the airport too. So I've had a luck with female tennis players. Anyway.
Fantastic. Well, that's so good. There's actually a movie out. I don't know if you guys have seen it. I haven't watched it yet. Who plays Serena's dad and
Will Smith. The
Yeah.
movie is called King Richard.
Oh, really? How fun. It's King Richard.
Yeah, it's about sort of their origin story as professional tennis players.
Mm.
Oh, that's cool.
It's really more about his story.
Yeah, because if his story hadn't come along, they wouldn't have been, you know, they were in Delray Beach, and, you know, it's just north of Boca Raton. And so that's like the spendy area of Florida, you know, and then West Palm is just a little north of there. So
they started out in Compton, California.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
In the hood.
Well, it's down where I'm talking about was kind of the hood too, but interesting. Is that where they grew up, or is that where they started their lessons?
That's where they grew up. That's where the family kind of started. And then once, well, according to the movie, the story.
Well,
of the movie,
when I met them, I was teaching. I was in my 30s, and he was a man who lived in the area. So who knows where he came from? I mean, he was older than me, so, you know.
Once the girls started winning, they moved to Florida to this kind of like tennis camp center where one of the coaches they had.
Right, that's where Chris Everett lived, and they built a tennis complex right downtown on Main Street. A big draw, but beautiful tennis complex. You know, wooden walls, and you go in, and it's totally secluded from the rest of the world when you're playing. Right there, and, you know, down the road from the Atlantic Ocean.
Fantastic. Well, I think every athlete in particular, because every well-known athlete serves as an example to us and to anyone else, to having answered the call to courage in whatever way or form that looks like, because it takes courage to get onto an international platform and be able to really show all the facets. Because I think, and in one of the interviews, Djokovic actually said that for him, the tennis court he called it a battlefield. Mm-hmm. Because what allows it allows him to bring up every energy that he has not healed yet, because of the exposure and the intensity that it takes to be, working, playing on such a professional level, and I've always known that he's got a good background in terms of looking at, the levels of consciousness and everything. But it's beautiful to see that in action. He's not reading it from a book or teaching it from a stage. He's actually showing it embodied spirituality. The vulnerability that it takes, the male rising, when we saw at the end the interview of them together, both of them, I honor both of them for their capacity of showing their vulnerability, of showing their strength, their courage, their determination, their camaraderie, sports camaraderie. It was just beautiful. I loved it. Who has seen the final? Or yeah, who has seen the final? Let's start with that.
I haven't seen tennis for a while.
Who has watched any of their clips when they, you know, after the games, what they said about each other, about their own game? Okay, yeah, this is fun.
Crickets.
Well, I can say that the guy I helped and worked with for 2.5 years on Sundays on his TV, one of the things that was always on, if it was going on, was tennis. So, you know, I did get it, you know.
That's a good start. And it doesn't matter because, you know, it has been just such a beautiful example of male rising. And we've been talking about this for so long, over the last couple of weeks now. And that's why it was just, I just loved it as a beautiful example. And anyone can go back and just watch. You don't have to watch the whole game. You can just watch them talk, you know, at the end, and basically just get a sense of what was actually happening for them.
I have another turn on what Tanya said that maybe might lead into something. The meaning of a full moon. In Native tradition, you know, when I first was really being introduced to teachers along my path, you know, one of the first things I was taught was that the full moon was the time when you took all those dreams and all those things you had been planning, and that was when you took action on it and you went out. So that's still emanating the divine masculine, going out in the will and doing it then. So the full moon is that time when you put into action according to the full moon. You know, that's the energy of the full moon, is to take action.
Well, and just kind of expanding on, you know, that concept, but also what Martina was saying, you know, walking out onto the tennis court, that was his battlefield.
Oh, yeah.
And today, this day in the galactic calendar is the warrior, the day of the warrior. So self-existing warrior guided by free will. So we're talking about, you know, battlefields, right? In sports, what it means to win, what it means to lose, and how it means to be like gracious about that. And you know, I'm here in San Francisco, and we have the the world champion basketball team, the Golden State Warriors, who you know, who are I mean, I'm not really a sports fan, but my husband and all of his friends just go crazy for this shit. They, you know, and they say, we won.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, well, I didn't see you out there on that court playing anything, you know, but there's, you know, there's this great, I don't know, the divisive energy, right, of us versus them. But then there's also this energy that, like, I don't know if you guys watch basketball, but like Brian Curry, right? He's always like an MVP. He's a great shooter. He's a great 3-point shooter. But he's just like, he brings this energy of like a little kid, right? Of this good sportsmanship and team playing. And, you know, it's been said that he's on the spectrum a little bit. So he kind of like brings this sort of like fresh, like camaraderie and team energy, right? And if another player falls down, he helps, you know, he'll help, they all help people up, right? So there's this, you know, just like the joy of playing the game, I think, which is.
Whoops, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I-
Oh, the word we, you know, you mentioned that he said we, and if you listen to guys doing video clips now on like TikTok or whatever, and they're being shared through Facebook, when they're, you know, somebody will pull a prank on another guy and you'll hear them say, yeah, we do that, don't we? And, you know, they talk in the we. Men talk about themselves in the we. Females rarely do that. Females rarely do that. So the incoming is singular and the outgoing is multiple. Interesting.
I was thinking too, when you were saying, Tanya, about how they weren't playing, but they were taking credit for the win. You know, when you think about fans that are really in it for just the joy of supporting the team, not necessarily whether or not the team is good and they win a lot, but there's a lot of collective energy that goes into that, just sharing support and hope and giving people strength and courage that you don't think about it in that context, because you don't think of sports necessarily as being spiritual, but there is that aspect of it.
I want to add
Fans have a lot of
one.
energy.
Oh, I'm sorry, Jen, you finish?
Yeah, go ahead, Lana.
Okay. I was just thinking about your Tanya, that you're saying about the cheering and the background. My partner does the same thing here too. He yells at the TV sometimes, but I did watch bits and pieces of that basketball game on the night they won. But think about this. It brought me back to the memory of what Andrew said when he was 9 years old, when he was at the baseball game, and when their home team hit the home run and the whole crowd in the stadium started to cheer. Can you imagine that, being a little child, and the cheer that went into that brought the energy up to that point where he was able to download all this memory of everyone, the Akashic records of everybody, even miles away from the stadium. So that's a really powerful energy that is being added to each game that is being played. So that's something to think about.
Look at the capacity that one would have to have in order to receive that or hold it or keep an access line open to use it. I mean, that's a tremendous amount of information. Tremendous. I mean, just the number of people alone to like see their faces, let alone get a blip of their lives. Wow.
Well, and what, you know, what pushed that crowd to stand up, right, was just like that. Yeah, that joy of we're winning. Home run. How cool is that? Yeah.
Yeah. They do. They love it. The guy he shared my house with me for a few years. His brother works and still does for Fox Sport Nuts, and he does their advertisement. And so he would get tickets to games and stuff. But on Sunday, their dad and the two brothers and their families and stuff, whatever brothers were in town would always get together, and they would cook like homemade spaghetti sauce, whosever house it was. They would do pasta. They would have, you know, like, they always had the thing. It's like a pepperoni, a certain type of cheese and the black, you know, but it was a Sunday thing. Every Sunday was involved in getting together and cheering together their sport or their sport club, their group, you know, but it was a Sunday ritual for them.
Well, doesn't that bring, I'm thinking about here right now is bringing it back to the little PDF I posted and the YouTube clip about it's not about success, it's about joy, happiness, and love. Because as a fan, you're in that joy, that happiness, that love when you're cheering and you're receiving all that.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So, as Andrew said, it's not about success really, but it's bringing that feeling, that emotion in that really lifts your spirit even higher. And as the I'm going to read the clip in case anybody didn't read it. So Andrew said, it's not about what you do or all the things that you create or don't create. It's truly about lifetime to lifetime endurance and gaining joy and happiness out of them. It's not about success. It is just about joy, happiness, and love. Those are the three neutral things that would occur, and the soul will evolve to great new levels. What it chooses to do with the awareness of great new levels will ultimately be determined at what scale it wants to impact its environment. So I saw that I came across that the other day, and I thought, this would go well with our discussion today. So what do you guys think?
I like that. Could you read the last couple lines on that, Lana? I kind of drifted off. Sorry. Your reading put me in a state, and I was like going with it.
Am I hypnotizing you, Robin?
Yes, you did. Yes, you did.
You are getting very sleepy.
Yes, I did. I was out there on that third planet past the sun, you know.
Any minute now you'll fall asleep. Okay, so I'll
Hopefully.
reread. He said, it's not about success. It is just about joy, happiness, and love. Those are the three natural things that would occur, and a soul will evolve to great new levels. What it chooses to do with that awareness of great new levels will be determined at what scale it wants to impact its environment. So as a successful individual playing in the game, what that individual wants to do now, at what scale and size, will impact his or her environment.
Mm-hmm. And the world to come too.
Well, I think that I'm not really like a sport person, and I'm not a competitive person. My family is kind of competitive, and I grew up, playing golf. Like my mom played golf, her dad played golf, his dad played golf. So I learned to play golf when I was a little kid, and I'm just thinking about like being out on a golf course, how easy it is to self-defeat, right? Mm-hmm. So taking that energy of joy and love, and like just the love of doing whatever you're doing, right? And the joy of just being out there, right? And walking on a golf course and hitting the ball, right? And I mean,
enjoying
I don't play very often. It's a crapshoot, but I've seen so many people just defeat themselves by their attitude.
Oh my God, throwing their golf clubs, stomping their feet, throwing their bags down, Oh yeah.
You're not, and you can see that like professional golfers who get frustrated, and just defeat themselves by their bad attitude, right? The attitude that's the opposite of joy, right? That like beating up yourself, being hard on yourself. Oh, that shot was crap, right? Oh, you can get so angry. Well, one could get so angry, and people do get angry.
And how about a golfer who got to the top and blew it by his behavior, and now is making his way back in, Their
Sure.
young, our young Black man, he's, he was at the top.
On the flip side of that, though, particularly in the sports like tennis or golf, where it's not a team, it's a personal effort, you have that self-mastery, right? I mean, it's really about self-mastery and having control over yourself and being able to influence your outcome more so than it being any kind of competition between who your opponent is. So that's the energy that I got out of what Martina wanted to talk about today, was like the self-mastery aspect of it rather than it being competition.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things I would like to add, one second, Martina. One of the things I like to add is that skiing is one of those sports where, as you're talking, Jennifer, it's self-mastery, really, a personal self-mastery. Because when you get on the slope and you don't practice, you cannot get down that slope. And one of the things that you do experience when you do that is that joy and happiness and the love for the sport itself. Because I remember when I used to go skiing, I would feel that joy and happiness as I'm skiing down the slopes. And as I got better at it, you kind of feel that free flow as you're speeding down the mountainside, depending on where your ability is at the moment, But yeah, that's one of those sports that you really got to master.
Did you ski as a child, Lana?
No, I ski as an adult.
Oh, I've always thought, like in fourth grade, I just wanted to ski. Somebody give me skis. I don't know why, but
No, you can learn as an adult too. You just have to take it much easier than the kids would. Skiing
Oh,
and
yeah.
flying. You certainly break some bones if you're not careful.
So we've been talking about sport for joy, learning how to be in the present moment. And we've been talking about sport for self-mastery and for winning competition. But let's leave that to the side for now. I want to go back to the battlefield that Djokovic mentioned. Because when he mentioned the battlefield, he was actually saying he's using the sport for his own self-mastery. He's not battling against the opponent. He is, but he wouldn't see it that way. He's playing against the opponent. He's battling. He called it a battlefield because it allows him to bring up all those raw emotions that he hasn't dealt with yet. So when Tanya was talking about, people throwing the clubs, and I would be one of those. I stopped playing golf because etiquette went out. Well, I didn't even go into the etiquette because I don't, throwing this, there's that. I think, okay, so sport is not the right place for me to work on my self-mastery. I had to do it a different way. But I'm wondering how, and I love the honesty of Novak there, where he said it's a battlefield every time he goes out there because it takes him back to all the wounded hymns, the wounded versions of himself that he has not dealt with. And then I love also the way he said it, because it's very much along our teachings, what we're talking about. He is okay with having screaming at the box or throwing his racket. But now he can go back, he picks it up, he says, okay, cool. I forgive myself for that. Let's move on. Next. And this is where the teaching comes in, So we're not here to say in these new energies, there is no battlefield anymore. Yes. No, it is there to a certain extent. And yes, you can reframe it and call it something else. But I love his honesty to say that, but he's not using it against himself anymore. He's actually seeking contrast. We can call it that, what I would call it, seeking contrast, be that now through a sport, be that now through a relationship, be that now through a job, to work on oneself. Not from a place of perfection, but from a place of, okay, what else is there? What other triggers are there that can show me that I can still work on? And it's not from a place of over-analysis paralysis and, but from a place of joy again. I bring back the joy here, the curiosity, not curiosity learning that takes you into distraction, but a very, very guided and positive way of working on yourself and go through the karmic resolution. Yeah. The next thing I want to bring up with that is we were talking about those energies, those connection energies. When we go, all the participants, all the spectators go into that energy, and some players can really they are like a Kyrgios has a capacity to use that energy. He uses it to his advantage. He can fully, what does he do? He can fully receive it. He receives those energies and they almost strengthen him. Now, is that a lack of sovereignty or is it something else? My question to you.
Riding the waves of energy. That's my opinion.
Say it again.
Oh, like riding the waves of energy,
Riding the
like
waves, yeah.
those intense moments, like it's something I experience a lot of myself at my job, because a lot of intensities occur, just being surrounded by a lot of people, and it's an invigorating feeling. It's just like, oh man, there's so much stuff going on, and just like something just activates within you, and you're just like, it's an addicting feeling, like just being in that total unknown zone where things are getting so intense. Yeah.
So is that, I love that. Thanks, Alfredo. And look, I can't speak for Kyrgyz, but I can speak for myself, because the way I would interpret that, when I step into that space, there is a huge expansion. There's no judgment whatsoever. And there's again that oneness field that he's tapping into. So I would almost go even further now and say it's not so much receiving, it's a capacity of him to expand himself to that extent that he can totally tap and be fed by the source, by the one source that is facilitated through the spectators.
I would call that being the magician, not being a lack of sovereignty. If you're able to use that energy, that's called magic.
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking it was tapping into your own connection or becoming aware of your own connection.
Yeah.
Definitely feels that way, yeah.
That's the
Yeah.
beginning.
Tapping into all your multidimensional selves all at once. It's just it's a very enlivening Superman feeling.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like Superman.
Yeah, cool.
The difficulty with that is that, especially when I look again at the Kyrgyz, who has been so confrontational from the very beginning, not making any friends, the commentators projecting at him, expecting from him, the spectators, projecting, so there we have the observer effect, big time observer effect. How is he going to not react to what is being projected at him? Because not just now on the court, off the court, because everything comes together at the time. And he's been slagged off forever for his behavior from the very beginning, because people just want to see what they want to see. They don't want, and look, he's not helping himself. I'm not, saying that for 1 second. But if you would just be like, okay, this got fuck all to do with me. Yeah. I just want to actually see the way the guy plays and just give him the space, provide the space. It's a completely different way of interaction. So there is so much going on when somebody plays. And all these things that we have talked about, the neutrality, the sovereignty, the expansion of our beingness. It's these guys are energy workers. Mm-hmm. And some are better and some are not so good.
Well, that, brings to me the idea of home field advantage, right? So it doesn't really necessarily apply at like Wimbledon, where, there's not going to be specific people, on the home court. But when you're talking about other sporting events, whether it be baseball or basketball or football, right, where you're playing at your home stadium and you have your crowd who's cheering for you, right, and the ability to use that energy to gain momentum.
Absolutely. And that actually invites us to look at distraction from a slightly different perspective, right? Because that opens up distraction, because a Kyrgyz loves distraction. He has a laugh if somebody gives him a compliment during his serve, between his second and his first serve. He loves it. Somebody else doesn't. Mm-hmm. So again, it's very interesting to look at that and just take it back, just like Djokovic does it. Take it back to your own battlefield within ourselves that we have, because we are all still in karmic resolution, right? And look at that. What does distraction really mean to us? What does winning really mean to us? How do we interact with other people's energies? Are we the magician, like Jennifer said? Are we the magician to really play with the energies and, bounce them around? Can we impact on them? What's it going to take?
When Jennifer said magician or magic, the first thing that popped into my mind, because the word that popped up into my mind this morning was mojo. And so I decided to look up the meaning of the word mojo. And lo and behold, it said magic spell,
Mhm. Oh,
charm,
And I was gonna say
magic
magic
power. Let me finish. Magic power, his mojo on the tennis court. It's part of the definition that I saw.
that's
So
fantastic.
yeah, they were both, playing with mojo.
Mhm. Yeah, it was the exact same thing, Lana. I didn't mean to cut you off. I was gonna throw it in real quick I was thinking at the same time, Jennifer, but I was thinking of her sigils and the magic that they bring forth from everybody, especially when people start saying what they see or feel or, questioning about it. So same vein, Jennifer and magic.
So let's talk about support when it comes to winning. Let's talk about, because, again, and I will take it back, even though you haven't looked at it, I will take it back because it's just such a beautiful example. Kyrgios does not have a trainer. He doesn't have a coach. Never had. Has been doing his own thing from the beginning. Well, he obviously had in the very beginning, when he was a little child or something. Does that mean that he doesn't need the support?
So he was practicing self-mastery all the while. If he did not have a coach, that would be the first thing that's popping into my mind here. He self-mastered the game.
So Lana, let's look at that energy. When we have self-mastery is a big fat energy. What energy would that be in particular? Let's distill that down. What was he actually doing, or what is he doing by not having a trainer, a coach? And
Depending on,
it's to me, it's like lifetime to lifetime endurance. He's brought something in from different lifetimes that he probably is within his DNA, that in this lifetime, his objective in this lifetime is to be that awesome tennis player. It's not about as we come back to the article, it's not about the success, it's about bringing his energy from lifetime to lifetime, accumulated in this lifetime, to express that self-mastery energy. Because remember, this lifetime is extremely important for all of us. Because we're collecting back our soul shards or parts or avatars, and we're coming back into oneness. So he was probably practicing that. I shouldn't say was, he probably is practicing that.
Okay, good. What else we got? Jennifer, what have you got?
Well, I was thinking about the call that we had a couple weeks ago. I forget what they called them, but the musician, right? And his real skill is that he was self-correcting. And so if you don't have a coach, I mean, anybody can watch what other players are doing and watch footage of themselves to see what they like and what they don't. But what a coach really helps you do is correct and strengthen your weaknesses and see your strengths. And so I'd say that if he doesn't have a coach, then he's able to do a lot of that self-correction on his own without having to have anything external for that.
And I have another view kind of on it. It reminded me of my experiences when I went to Battle Creek, Michigan. And, they had a wonderful library plus the university, so I went to the library and I'd pick an artist, but I would get written a book like by 4 or 5 different authors talking about the same artist, so that I could then take all of their stories and put together the commonalities to get a better understanding of them. But as for teachers, I didn't want to have anybody teach me specifically because I didn't want to take on their style before I found out my own style. So I investigated artists and learned about their lives, but it was, it was for me a challenge, I guess, Lana, self-mastery. I didn't want to have someone else's influencing me before I learned myself.
Okay, well, I can absolutely, and I can see that in him as well. I can see his capacity of wanting to do it his way. He's very determined, seemingly knowing that this is the way he's going to do it. And that makes him dangerous. That makes him uncontrollable. That makes him unpredictable, and all of that. And then there's another element to that for all the therapists out there, for all the healers out there. What is that?
I mean, this is coaching people to stay in their own energies, right? To stay in their own energies and to use their intuition about what feels right for them. What feels right for me? What feels right for you, right? It's not going to be the same thing because we have a different path and purpose.
Yeah.
So how do we really stand grounded and strong and listen to the heart, right? And walk from that perspective.
Isn't this the guy
It's a daily journey.
Yeah.
I apologize, I don't pay much attention to sports, but is this the athlete that almost got kicked out of a tournament because he wasn't vaccinated?
No. That's Djokovic. That's Djokovic.
So I was thinking about that sovereignty and not letting anybody tell them what they were going to do. That's very powerful also for the healers, and makes them dangerous that they're able to go forth and do what they want to do despite what people are trying to put on them.
The energy is slightly different there, it's a different energy. That's very much a informed decision on a basis of experiences Djokovic has, depending on the way he looks at his body, the way his spirituality works, and all of that. What we just been looking at is a slightly more radical, a slightly more rebellious little thing. And I'd like to bring Mary into this conversation here.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I was going to say something there, Martina, when I get a chance. There's kind of two sides, I think, to that idea of not having a coach. And one is what you have been saying about, developing, doing it your own way, developing your own strengths and all of that, and relying on your own strengths and looking at your own vulnerabilities in that process. But I also think there's another side to that, and that there's an element of not allowing another perspective in. It doesn't mean that it's going to take over if you allow it in, but it just means that you're shut off to allowing that in. And I think that maybe as he gets more involved in his journey, he may be interested in opening that up a little bit, just to see what he might learn and what he could gain from that perspective.
That's a great point.
It's a perfect point. It's a perfect point. And let's have that sink in for ourselves. Let's have that sink in when it comes to the male, to the female. I'm having to do it on my own. Ladies in particular here, that's very much a distorted female, a distorted male at the same time, because one balances out the other. I'm having to do it on my own. There's still this, let me just finish this, Robin. There's still this element of that when you watch him, why he gets so upset when his team, he's already started opening up a little bit, Mary, what I've been seeing, with having at least his family and his girlfriend there. Yes. And they're doing as much and the best they can because they know what's going on, what he requires. And if they don't perform with the support that he requires, he gets really angry at them. So there is this element, you nailed it absolutely, that rebel that needs to do it on their own. And how I certainly can relate to that.
Me
As a
too.
woman, I have to do a man. And where does it come from, girls and boys? Where does it come from? It comes from our upbringing, from the wounding, not just this lifetime. No blame. No, you don't even. We know what we're talking about. It's that female distortion that wants to be the man. I can do it on my own. Knocks out the male within ourselves.
Yep.
Right. Right? And thanks for the yeah, Alfredo, because he's the man-bodied saying that. And then, of course, it's the man really trying to hold on to, yes, I'm helping, but you don't let me. It's that conflict within.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then there's that element too that I was thinking of earlier when we were talking about the winning. That, you know, when like, say, look at life, if we looked at life and our lives as a battlefield, as Djokovic looks at the tennis court, like the tennis court can symbolize any area of any of our lives, really.
Yeah.
But if you look at the idea of winning and needing to win and having to win, and you're in a competition, you're not going to win if you're going to be constantly in the female role and you're minding the other person and you're minding how they're feeling and you're not going to give them the difficult shot and you're going to do this for them and that for them. You're only going to win if you can get into this single-minded situation where you're going for it and that's it. And it's a single-mindedness that you're going to go for it and you're going to win. And I think that's a masculine energy, but there's nothing wrong with it. But the whole concept of winning, I have thought about for years, because our local team here has been in competitions for 8 years and they have never won. They've got to the final and they've never won. So I used to think, I wonder, is there a different way we could do this? And even from my teaching in the school, and see the disappointment in children when they don't win. And it's only the first prize that matters and the other two don't. And I still don't know how you can do it, where you can kind of make everybody feel okay. But that's the female side of me, that I want to make them all feel okay. And they are all okay and they're all winners. But when you want to go for the single winner, it's really that very masculine energy that takes you to that place.
So if you watch the game, the way our sports shaman, Djokovic, has done this, because he's showed us exactly how to do this, Mary, what you're saying, yeah? Showed us exactly how to do this. He kept his cool. He stayed in his composure, which was the female, completely like, okay, I'm not getting involved. First of all, he's got permission because he's on a tennis court. He's a tennis player. Yeah, he's got permission.
Yes.
Everybody wants him to win, you know? If he doesn't win in that sort of, then, you know,
Yes.
why are you there in the first place, right? So we got to choose an environment that is actually where we don't need to ask for permission, because this is our arena. It's like you coming onto this Zoom here. You have the permission to answer, the courage to talk. That's the male or the female, whatever you want to call it at the end of the day, you know. But at the same time, we're going to have, you know, an honoring of each other. This one talks, this one talks, this one talks, this one talks. This is like a tennis court here. One says something, then the other plays, you know. But there is, at the end of the day, we're all winners.
Yeah.
If we don't play, well, then don't get on the court. Yeah, you got to bring the male out. You got to bring the female out. And it was just so beautifully orchestrated, you know, because he did exactly that. And he did what you said. He did exactly what you said. What did you say, Mary? You want to please everyone. Well, he did. He did. He didn't have a go. He didn't get distracted. He kept his cool. He stayed, you know, and he won.
I know. And actually, it's beautiful to see that energy at work. And I love it in particular, the way Djokovic manages it. It's just lovely. There's something really beautiful about it.
Absolutely. And then look, the inner composure this guy has, the work, that self-mastery that this guy has. Yeah. Because you know what happened in Australia earlier this year. You know, he's always been, people don't really like him. I was wondering, why don't they really like him?
Yeah.
Because just like Kyrgios, he cannot be controlled. He doesn't care. You know, I mean, yeah, they all say, of course, he wants to be liked and that, but people don't like him. He's okay too. So people can't latch onto him. It's like, you know, they can't align and agree, what we say all the time, align and agree, resist or react, because it goes straight through him. Because he's there to play tennis.
Yes. And he has such magnetism in that, hasn't he, Martina? I think people are very attracted to his energy and want to latch on to him, but he's very much himself, and he's going to think for himself and do what he has to do for himself.
You see, Anne married, yes, and they also hate him for that.
They hate him for that. Yes, and that happens to us too. That happens in our lives too.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's to recognize when that happens, when we're hated for being ourselves and standing up and holding that position, while at the same time being available to others from that place.
And this is why we have a group like this.
Yeah.
We're sharing our knowingness, what we've learned, our vulnerability with those who have earned to listen to it. Yeah. And this is what we all need as athletes in life. Do not overshare with people who have not earned the right to listen to what you've got to say, because it will backfire on you. The wall comes up and the energy sends all those salts back into you, back, front, everywhere, because that's what energy is. If you're not being received, we always say receive, 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 receive. So let's look at it. They haven't earned it. They haven't done the work. Let's turn it around. It's like, oh shit, yeah.
Actually, that makes all the difference, Martina. Just what you said there. Let's turn it around. Because if I forget to turn it around, I take it on.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's a simple thing to do, but it's just to be mindful enough to do it.
And it's gonna, you know, get stuck.
Yeah.
Get stuck in your energetic system.
Oh,
and
yeah.
of course, what you're gonna do, you're gonna start turning it around. You make yourself wrong for it.
Make yourself.
Yeah.
There must be something wrong with me because this person can't understand what I'm saying. Well, not necessarily. There's nothing wrong with this person either, that they can't hear what you're saying. It's just for you. And this is what responsibility is all about. Taking responsibility, answering the call of courage. This is courage. This is courage to know when to shut up and don't throw your pearls to the swines. It's not judgment. That's kindness to them too. Because they will hate it. They don't want to be told. And when you can do this, like composure, like, you know, just play, focus on life, focus on your mission, focus on your game, like Novak showed us. Kyrgi came off that course and he knew immediately. You could see the energy was like, shit, I fucked this up. He didn't have to say, you could have said something less or not done and this. No, he said, hey, come mate, give me a hug.
Yeah.
But did he really F it up, or there can only be one winner?
Well, that is an interesting.
They're both winners, you know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But
And
in the end of the game, somebody's got to win and somebody's got to lose. So, I mean, the winning energy is in both individual. That's why it brought them this far in the game, right?
Yes, absolutely.
And I think lots of people misidentify that. They say, you know, oh, we're in it. It's what's that we say to the kids? It's like, oh, it's all being part of it. You know, it's just the main thing is that we're all part of it. Well, that's slightly misleading because that takes away. Hey, have some courage to step into it. Show us what you got. Because it's almost like, no, you don't have to do anything. Just be there, stand there and do nothing. No. It's not that. Go show us. Show yourself what you got.
In a lot of these kids leagues around here, all of the kids will get a participation trophy at the end of their season. Right, saying, hey,
Yeah.
you showed up, you were here, you're all winners because you showed up and participated. So, you know, it does take courage to get out there and play. But again, you know, show up and show us what you've got.
I think all of this is
Oh,
one part two. Whoops, go ahead, Alfredo. You haven't talked.
I've been waiting. I'm like, no, just hold up, Alfredo. No,
No.
but I've been thinking about this because, yeah, like competition has been such an ingrained part of my life. Like growing up from like, you know, being a kid to being an adult, it's like competition in the games, competition in sports, competition with everybody in high school. It's like nonstop competition all the time. It brings out a lot of like dense emotions, like hatred, like, oh, I fucking hate that person because this and that and whatever. It'll bring out all these, you know, dense energies. But I was thinking about this competition thing because I know a lot of toxic things I picked up through my youth and the competition. And it's like teaching Elroy, because I was playing games with him last night. It's like the healthy competition, like high-fiving each other after like pushing ourselves to the limit, like in anything, like sports, video games. You're stepping into the unknown. Everybody's pushing themselves to the highest limit at the human potential, you know, or even beyond that. And it's celebrating like stepping into the unknown, like pushing ourselves to the highest level and like, yeah, fuck yeah, that was an awesome game. And I've never been, you know, that excited to like compete, you know, just it's very enlivening. And yeah, it's like, oh, good job, guys. We, you know, that was a fun game. I never pushed myself that much with, you know, a 7-year-old kid. I never played video games with, you know, it's like the healthy, because without me and him, or, you know, me and anybody else, the game wouldn't be there. But the fact that we're all like, you know, gathering together to push ourselves to the limit, you know, gathering all the self-mastery and practice invested into it, it's a super rewarding experience, you know, just, yeah, that's all right.
And I suppose the competition too, Alfredo, the competition invites you to dig deeper for that expertise that you may never have found if you weren't in the competition. Because if I'm not in the competition, you know, half-heartedly maybe play something, but if you want to win it, and there's fun in it as well. There's a lot of fun in that process leading up to that too, and discovering the depths that are within yourself and other people.
Oh yeah, gets your heart racing and makes you feel alive. Yes. You know, just like that's the feeling.
Whatever,
yeah. The yelling, the screaming, the laughing, the feeling alive. Like just that's the glory of it all. You know, just
being acknowledged, acknowledging each other. You know, as a teacher, Mary, that's what I was going to share, is that when you can acknowledge them or give them a system in which they can understand that you're acknowledging them or honoring them. What I did is when they would do their homework, because homework is one of those things not everybody can do and not everybody wants to do. But, you know, if you do things like that, I had them have a paper in their notebook. And if they did their assignment, whatever it was, I would give them an initial. And at any point after they had a certain number of them, they could turn those initials in for something in what I called the point box. And I would go to stores and I would buy things on clearance, and I would collect cute little things and, you know, mirrors and pencils and pens and little, you know, it's an oddity of things. And at first they were kind of like, oh, And then they would come, Miss Neely, can I use my points? I need to have paper for this class. Miss Neely, I need this, or can, you know, and they used it as a self-reward. But the only way that they got to purchase the stuff was if they earned it. And I said, this is to teach you that when you go into adult life, when you go do something for someone, you expect something in return. That's how the game is played. So because you're doing what I'm asking you to do on your time, I'm rewarding you, and you can turn those in at any time for as many as that you want to, you know, and they loved it. They would come in, Miss Neely, can we get the point box out, you know, but you know, it was encouraging them, like we were, you know, kind of came up at the beginning for winners. Part of building winners is not making them soft, but encouraging them, like the guys getting together and high-fiving each other, saying, yeah, we know we pushed the fuck each other. Yeah, we did a good job, man. We really, you know, that's what make men stick together, is that they encourage each other, that they, you know, and I think that's one of the sad things that all teachers do is encourage. They want to teach and to judge and to cast aside, and many wonderful golden gifts to humanity get lost because a teacher, no matter the age, you know, casts dispersions on this person for whatever, instead of, you know, encouraging them to be the best that they can be. Encourage them to push that. Yeah, you did a damn good job today. You don't usually do it. Look at that. You got 3 things written on that paper. Good for you, you know?
Can
It
I say
pushes-
something
Men
here?
would much rather talk shit instead of like, you know, commemorating each other. They're like, oh, you know, it's always talk shit before like congratulating and like celebrating the good high qualities that each person possesses, you know.
Yeah, so
That's the way
just,
I've been like, that's how I've been running my leadership, because I was like, I love to build up the team, because you just like, you acknowledge all the high points that each individual person has, and it lifts them up, and you know, they lift you up. It's just like a symbiotic process, and just go ahead. I'm done.
Can I jump in here? I was thinking about the competition and the energy of competition, and it's taking me back to ancient times. What was really competition considered in the ancient times? To me, the energy of competition was the energy of survival. Because if you think about it, if when you were thrown into the arena, the only way to survive was to win, or you'll die. You either survive or you're killed. So that's an energy that we need to maybe take a look at right now. Because now the rules of our reality has changed, where you really can't kill each other on the field anymore.
It's a very good point, Lana. Thank you.
Well, and this kind of leads into something that I remembered AB saying in one of his shows when he was talking about, you know, group sports competitions, whether it be football, basketball, whatever, that these individuals playing the game, many of them are, you know, reincarnated generals, you know, and soldiers.
That's right. Yes,
From
I
the
remember him
Roman
saying that.
army, from the Greek army, from the Persian army, from the Napoleonic armies, right? Think about all of that war where there was just killing on the battlefield. I mean, the last time we had, well, I mean, that's going on still today, but you know, in a sports game, you can be the warrior, you know, and slay your opponent without killing.
Yep, that's a good energy for us to take a look at.
So winning on the dharmic path is no longer related to survival. It's really an invitation to come off the bench, and instead of watching life go by, live it. Start living it.
Well, it's balancing karma. From what Tanya is saying to me, it's those ancient beings who are reincarnated now, and they get involved in the different teams, and they're competing with each other. They're just balancing out ancient karma, which could possibly put them now on a dharmic path.
Exactly. Exactly. And we, of course, looking at some level, we're looking at coming off that dharmic path, moving on to the dharmic path, even though, there's no linearity, as we know, right? But, the focus is now, okay, so are we still in survival mode, self-preservation mode, or are we actually starting towards desire, towards oneness, towards union and communion, that kind of thing? Now, there is no conversation about winning and losing without talking about trial and error, failure and success. Because that is an energy that we have to start redefining as well. What does success really mean at the end of the day? If the self-preservation, the survival, the winning is completely redefined and everything. And
Well, that brings back, Martin, that brings back here
hold on,
to,
let me just finish the sentence. Would we have, I just throw in that energy and then you take it and do that.
The cultures.
I'm throwing out
Throw a boat.
to the lions, throwing out me. Would we have any innovation without trial and error, without failure? Off you go, Lana.
okay, so what I was going to say, you mentioned the word success. So I'm bringing this back to the article. It says it's not about success. It's about lifetime to lifetime endurance and gaining joy and happiness out of them. So it's no longer about success. Once you finish the karmic path and you're on this dharmic path, now we're changing the energy to something brand new. We're out creating the old now because we've completed all that karma. And to me, all those competitions where they're like the NFL and things like that, right? Those were the guys who were really going against each other in the ancient past. So when they're on the field now, they're working it out, but the rules of a reality has changed, so they can't kill each other on the field anymore. So they have an opportunity now to really finish up their karma, like work with each other, finish up that. But so it's not going to be about the success anymore, who wins or who loses.
So
it's going to be about their joy, their happiness, and their love for playing the sport in the future.
Okay, so let me kick this off. Joy, happiness, success is all part of
joy, happiness, love.
Joy, happiness, love is part of my success. What else you got? Because what if we just integrate it? That's what we're doing. We have to redefine success because success has been distorted. Yeah, right. It's gone into a political, economical, money, time, blah blah. Now that's bullshit. Let's leave that to the side. We're not going to have a go at that because we've done this for eons. Let's leave it there, and we were part of the distortion, if I just may add. Now, what does success mean to us? Joy, love, happiness. What else?
Success is growth.
Yeah,
Growth.
Leaving the definition of masculine and feminine behind and setting new forth,
Give me the word. What word is that?
So I would say recalibration of what we consider feminine and masculine.
Recalibration, yeah.
Yeah. So you're
Balance.
taking off that I have to do it by myself to be open to, okay, I'll listen to you. I can choose my own way. But I can listen to you. I can see you. I can hear what you have to say and then choose my way, without having to be that, cut myself off from everybody and attack everybody mode,
Okay, cool. One word. What else we got? What does success mean to you? Let's make a list.
Completion.
Completion. What else?
Success.
I'm going to show you a value process, yeah? Give me more. What does success mean to you?
Balance.
Balance.
For me, would be collaboration.
Collaboration.
For me, it would be like creating my own mojo,
Mojo.
my own magic.
Put it down as 2 words, magic and mojo both.
That's fine. That's fine. What else? What does success mean to you? And we're doing a very broad one. So take it in the context of relationship, take it in the context of health, take it in the context of business or, you know, work, career. What does success mean to you?
To me, again, another one I'd like to add is if you're successful in your own reality, then that really would bring you into the 5th world of peace, or even bring you into the realm of the real.
Give me one word. Put it into
Real.
one. Real.
The realm of the real, yes.
Okay.
Mhm. And compassion. Compassion.
Compassion.
Yes.
I was thinking of homeostasis.
Homeostasis.
Mhm.
I've got three words. Embodiment, energy, and connection.
What else? Couple more.
Love.
Love we have, yeah. What else?
Success is the flowing.
Flow.
Yeah.
What else does success mean to you?
Connectedness.
Stepping beyond your,
What was that?
I
What was
said
that?
connectedness, and then Alfredo was going to offer something as well.
I have connection. So I'm going to throw in sovereignty, mastery, self-mastery,
And preparation.
self-healing, preparation,
Creativity.
Preparation.
stepping beyond your limits.
limitless,
Mhm.
success,
Yeah, there you go.
Perseverance.
perseverance,
Self-nurturing.
self-nurturing,
Avatar.
avatar. What does success mean to you?
Peace. I said
Containment.
Peace,
Peace, yeah.
freedom,
Comfort.
comfort, sex. What does success mean to you?
Discipline. Discipline.
Creation, discipline,
Mhm.
Ascension. Ascension.
Mhm.
ascension. We're getting
Completion.
completion. I think I've got that already.
silence.
Yeah, you did.
Silence.
Silence.
Yes.
Mhm.
Okay, I think we have enough.
Celebration.
Celebration, yes. So you got the list there. Look at it in the chat. What I want you to do now is to choose out of whatever we have. I want you to choose 5. Choose 5 of those and put them in the order of importance for you. The one, joy, whatever that, you know, whatever it is, obviously, yeah. And this is a very broad value evaluation here. And then sort of let me know when you have when you're done. Put your hands up when you're done if you know where the hand is, because I don't know. That's good. Good. Good, good, good. 1, we got 1, yeah. 2, 1. 2. Good. I'll give you a couple more minutes. Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah, no, we're all good. Right. Fabulous. Embodiment, sovereignty, ascension, Alfredo. Yeah, you can just add. It doesn't really add your own. Yeah, if you want to. Good. Now, let's say we've got 5 now. And this is just a little play here. Now, in the order of importance, yeah? Now, I'm going to be really tough on you. You cannot have all 5. Sorry, there's a limitation to your success. You can only have 3. So choose very carefully.
Yeah.
Which are the 3? And remind yourself, you can only have those 3. You can't have any of the others. You can only have those 3. Play with that. What are the most important 3 for you?
Rose, Jones, and Moore.
And of course, this is just an in the moment little play that changes, because by next week you already have a completely different set of values. What is success? Completely la la la. But let's look at those 3 values and think of, if you have those 3 values, you've got nothing else. And you can play with that. Whatever is your first value. Who wants to share their values just for fun? Anyone?
I mean, my top 3 are love, peace, and joy.
Love,
Yeah.
peace, and joy. Can I play with you?
Mhm.
Sure. Cool. So Tanya's got love, peace, and joy. So that's very cool. Lovely. So it's very lovely. It's very peaceful. It's very, very joyful. She's not going to be very disciplined, is she? There's no growth, really. What about collaboration?
That was my 4th. I had to kick that one out, and self-mastery was the
There's no
was the
perseverance in
5th,
any of
but,
that either, right?
you know, with for me, like, love encompasses all of those things, right? Because I love connecting with people, right? I love the energy of working on myself, right? Like, that brings me joy. It brings me peace, right? To know that, you know, I could collaborate with someone. I could work on something that I've been working on, you know, whether it be a class or a meditation, or, you know, I love doing that. But it's also, you know, bringing back that sense of peace and joy of what I'm bringing into my life, right? So even though those are my top 3, you know, there's a lot of things that go into getting there.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. Now, having said that, when you start doing it in a certain context, you will obviously look at it from a slightly more specific value perspective. Because also when you, let's say, for instance, you know, let's say Tanya would be looking for a job. Yeah. If she does her values in the context of a job, love, peace, and joy is not going to get her anywhere. Yeah. She'll have to really fucking money and, you know, travel, and she has to get really specific into this. So this is just an idea for you to play with, but that's why I always say love, yes, but it's so big. We gotta really, it's almost like sitting on the fence a little bit and watching. We got to get into the nitty-gritty living, right? What does it mean? What does peace mean? What does, you know, joy mean? But obviously, you know, we are not beginners in this. So if somebody can come up with, you know, values like that and can actually support it with the job, with the relationship, with, you know, not living on, if somebody gives me those 3 values and doesn't have a home to live in, then I have to say, okay, well, we need to look at that. Let's look at that. How can we change, or how can you change that in order to actually create yourself a situation where you have your needs met? So why are we talking about this? Winning versus losing, new energies. I don't know, just came up. But it fit nicely, right? Because at the end of the day, you know, think of a Djokovic. Yes, he might have love, peace, joy as well, but he would not be able to maintain his level of athletic professionalism if those are his first three values. He'd probably have to chunk it all down in, okay, peace. That is everything, or freedom, you know, and then add maybe a little bit of money and a little bit of that, you know, so that you've got to play with that. And that's part of the balance. That's where it comes in. Balance. We were talking about balance, completion between the male and the female. Yeah. Because these are very much love, peace, joy. We can't even say what are these, male or female. They are very female. Having said that, we got to look at what is male and female within ourselves. Now, there's one thing, I looked at this the other day. You know, this sign for female is this one going down, right?
Right.
And
The
then
same sign for the planet Venus.
And then we got the male, the opposite, yeah? And I read that somewhere, something like that. So it's the opposite, female going down, male going up. So, and this is a perfect example, actually. It really nicely illustrates that. Love, peace, and joy, beautiful values for success. Now, very female in my world. So let's take, the female goes down. It needs to ground, because the female within ourselves, male and female bodies, that energy needs to ground it down into the earth. What's it going to take to bring it down into the earth? What can we create with that? Female. That's the journey of the female now, to really ground it down without beating up the male. Now, the male's journey through the distortion, it goes up. Instead of, I'm the protector, I'm the warrior, I'm the no, you go into peace, love, and joy now. Show me that. Yeah. So that's that balancing out. So look at your values again. Are they sort of balanced?
But for me, I feel like growth and joy and love. However, because I choose growth are the best one, because if I don't grow, I don't feel good. I have to feel that I'm motivated I'm doing better every day. For me, very like a part of my core to grow and to learn. I always keep looking for learning. That means for me, growth is more important, because if I grow, I feel joy. I feel joy, then I can feel love. If I don't have joy, I get to love.
Absolutely. Thank you for saying that, because that just shows how we all, for me, growth is still my first one. It's gotta be expansion. I don't call it growth anymore. I call it now expansion. That is my first one. And I have pretty much everything put in there, you know. For me, the love and joy, everything is in expansion. But it's not good enough. You know, if I want to start creating something in particular, let's say you can use this for creating a project like my book. If I just have expansion as my values in the context of my book, it's never going to come out. So I had to bring in, and interestingly enough, I had to calm down my Kyrgios and bring in Djokovic. Yeah. A bit of more determination and courage and composure. I'm not saying he hasn't got it, but I had to silence a little bit the rebel. That's good. Let's go. Let's get out. You know, that kind of thing. So look, Okay, so just one more second. But when we're going off there, look at your values again and see how you would, in the light of those realizations, maybe, how would you change them? Robin.
The three I was thinking of towards the end was collaboration, completion, and the avatar still, again, because it embodies that, you know, state of attainment, you know, that success. But you know, it just made me think of working with the at-risk kids, and you always have to like recalibrate. That was it. Recalibrate, collaboration, avatar. Because you're always having to recalibrate yourself. You're always having to look at yourself and seeing, how can I get through to them? You know, I don't feel I was too successful yesterday. And then you have to work with them. And, you know, being a teacher, the success is that they've learned something or that they want to learn again. So, you know, to me, that would be my three.
Cool. Anyone else who wants to share or say anything to this? Or say something else? I don't know.
I had embodied. Clary, go on. No,
No, go ahead, Mary.
No, it's
Mary
okay.
and
Go
then
ahead.
Jennifer. I'm the referee here. Mary and then Jennifer. Mary, une fois.
I had embodiment. Oh, I'm not looking at it now. Embodiment, sovereignty, and ascension. And I just deliberately didn't spend much time thinking about it. I'd looked at them and I thought, which three pops out? And I wrote them down quickly. And I thought about them afterwards, and I thought embodiment for me today was really big. Because when you talked earlier about the whole thing of the audience and the spectators at the tennis and the cheering of the crowd, I was thinking while you were all talking about this, my God, if I was there, I would have found it so hard to stay in my body. I would have just floated up and off and gone. Because this is what happens to me when the energy goes very high. It happens to me with music. If I'm listening to a fabulous orchestra, if I'm listening to loud music, if there's that kind of high energy, I immediately float up with it. So my job is to keep myself down and grounded while being able to hear it and be with it, is to keep myself here. And that would be throughout my whole life. It's not just if I was playing tennis or if I was at a concert, you know. So then following on from that, I think it's interesting the three I chose without thinking about them, because of course to be embodied, then I can be sovereign, but I can't be sovereign if I'm not embodied. So the sovereignty would come as a result of that, and as a result of being present in the moment. And actually what occurred to me while I was listening to you all talking was that ascension sounds like, oh my God, like that's kind of way out there, you know, that's unachievable, that's at the end of your life, will you ever get there? And I thought, yeah, I get there regularly. I actually ascend regularly. And I'll tell you what I mean by that. If I go to the beach and I watch a fabulous sunset, I just ascend. I'm gone to another level, and my energy, my vibration has gone up. I'm gone to another dimension, and I experience that as an ascension. So to me, all these little ascensions all mean something, because the ultimate ascension that we imagine we're all going to experience, maybe that's what we're experiencing when we allow ourselves to lose ourselves in that moment of higher vibration. So they're the three that I chose, and actually they're three very relevant ones as I just looked at them.
I like that.
Yeah, very nice.
Yeah, I'd like that a lot. Especially for today's world.
Especially what, Robin?
For today's world, and especially today in life, you know, personally too. Yeah, it's being here, embodying it is very, very, very good message. Go ahead, Lana. Was that you?
I was wondering if I can make a suggestion, Mary.
Yeah, please. Yeah, please do, Martina.
Look at it. You've got you got embodiment. What was the other one?
Sovereignty and ascension.
Sovereignty. Okay. Let's do something. Let's look at that. Embodiment, sovereignty, ascension. I want you to take the third one and merge it with the first one.
Okay.
How does that feel?
Not sure how that feels now. It's beginning to feel more possible. It didn't initially, but I'm beginning to feel it now and feel the possibility of that. Yes.
Work on
But I
that.
had to give myself a minute. Yeah.
Work on that. And then find
Okay.
the third one.
Okay.
Cool. Anyone else who wants to share?
So I was on the same thought line that Mary was. My three were ascension, love, and freedom. But as I was looking at all of them, I think they all come down to ascension, because ascension is mastering all of these values that we talked about. So I thought, I don't need three, I just need the one, because they all fall into that. Like, I was thinking about doing a work breakdown structure for a new project, and like, you take it in its simplest form. So you have everything on these Post-it notes, and anything that's similar gets lumped into one column, and you break it into its most simple form. And I think that ascension is the most simple form of all those things that we're talking about. It's all part of our journey there. And I was thinking that we are already there. It's just a matter of the path that we take to get there. So it is an iterative daily process, but we are there.
Fantastic. So what I suggested to Mary is suggest to everyone else, and I'll do this myself, take an energy and throw it together and see how it works. And that will bring up old belief systems and old points of views. They'll say, no, fuck, that's not going to work. Can't do that. And then you destroy and uncreate every single one of them. And you might want to look at ascension, the definition. What does ascension actually mean? What if ascension is totally grounded, mastered spiritual embodiment?
Ascension is like a light worker word, isn't it?
Say again, Lana, what did you say?
I think ascension is a light worker's word, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's a cool word. We're working on it. It's a cool word to throw stuff under. But you're absolutely right. I mean, we just got to look at it, what it means to us, you know?
Yeah. What if we find a new word to replace the word ascension, where we can get a deeper meaning
So
of what ascension is?
So for me, I have a word, and that is my first value from the exercise I've done today. That would be present moment awareness. 360 degrees. Up, down, left, right. On the graduation timeline, including astral, subsurface.
I will use for myself transformation.
Transformations go on too, yeah?
Self-awareness, Martina, as I kept hearing as you were talking.
Self-awareness, yeah.
Graduation is what I would use to replace ascension. It's
Graduation.
It's the cool everything in.
Yeah. Graduation. Oh, I love graduation. And celebration.
Mm-hmm.
I always come back to the phrase "the realm of the real." When you think of ascension, that's the realm I want to be in at all times. What is real? What is real for me? What is real for
the real?
What is real for the prime creator? That's the space I want to be in. That's the reality I want to exist in.
Fabulous.
Where everything is the truth, you know?
Yeah. So play with this, chunk it up, chunk it down, chunk it up, chunk it down, depending on what you need to do. And look at those values and really when they come up, and change them every week, every month. I used to do them every year. I totally forgot, but now it's a cool exercise because it's part of the book as well. I put that in there. So yeah, And one of my other one is I have expansion. That is growth, expansion, transformation, ascension. All of that is, for me, is expansion. I pop everything in there. And then I have community because I need to work on that. I need to get myself out there again to do more. So I pop in community at this stage because I don't have it. Or I have it, but not enough. Or I know I can work on it. So it's always good to throw an energy in that you're working on. And once you start embodying it, you don't have to have it in your values anymore because you've become it. You've embodied it. You've ascended into it.
Mary might have been trying to say something, but she's on mute. I saw her talking, so I just want to say you're on
Oh,
mute.
sorry, I didn't realize I was on mute. Thanks, Jennifer. I just thought that nobody could hear me. I was just thinking, Martina, when you said community, how interesting that word was, because immediately what it brought up for me, it wasn't so much in terms of the community out there, it was the community of myself. And that describes the feeling that I gave ye about taking the picture of or being present at the sunset, and that sense of being connected, and that to the community of myself. That is really almost, in a way, if you can summarize ascension, that's kind of getting close to it for me.
Fabulous, fabulous. But that is much more tangible, you know?
Yes.
That's
why I have the embodied piece in, you see, because I would naturally be floating. So I have to have the embodiment in. Otherwise, I'm not here to see it or feel it.
fantastic.
Also, ascension. Also, ascension could be a consciousness shift. When your consciousness shifts, you are in essence would be the same as ascension.
Sure.
Yeah.
So there'll be another term, another phrase for ascension.
Yes.
Good.
Because Mary, when you were watching the sunset, you're having a consciousness shift.
Yes, I know.
You're
That's what
sitting
I
there.
thought too, Lana. Yeah. Yeah. Very
So
good. Yeah.
you're ascending in your own moment in time there.
Yes.
Embody.
Yeah. Mm.
Another one would be, which we haven't mentioned, is vulnerability. We've mentioned it before, but not for the values. It's a superb values, and link it to creativity. Because vulnerability is, if you think of it, got to be vulnerable enough to go to the edge of unknowingness in order to create.
When I think of the word vulnerable, Martina, I think of sort of like a weakness, because you're becoming vulnerable. You're weak, in a weakened state, and that's not a really powerful word enough to be in sovereignty and to be that rebel energy to take you to the next ascended point.
Oh, I
Right?
understand that, Lana. Vulnerability is having the courage to be unsafe, right? To put yourself in a position where you're not necessarily safe and protected. So it sounds weak. It has a weak connotation to it, but it's really not. It's courage.
And it's about being open as well. I think you can't really be open to the possibility unless you're able to allow a certain vulnerability, because the opposite to vulnerability is kind of a certainty, isn't it? Or something, I don't know what the opposite is, but it's just the feeling of the word. And I know what you mean, Lana. Yes, I do see what you mean by the word brings up that meaning, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Like a weakness, yeah, or something unsafe or unsure.
Because we don't want to be vulnerable. We can find another word to replace vulnerable as well.
So what?
Yeah, I wonder what.
what if vulnerability, because that's a beautiful thing if we get triggered, right, by an energy. It's a beautiful thing to look behind the scenes. And what if we could just say, okay, what if vulnerability is a strength rather than a weakness? And I hear what you guys saying, because this is how the collective consciousness defines vulnerability as weakness.
Mhm.
This is the distortion of the male. You can't be vulnerable, you can't be weak.
Mm.
And how sweet, think of how vulnerability allows others to open up their hearts.
Yes.
Think
Like you're letting go of the control of the situation and letting yourself be vulnerable.
Yeah.
Be more open-hearted with others. They're more open to be more open-hearted with you. I've been putting myself in vulnerable positions more instead of just being like, oh, I got to be in control of everything that's going on. So,
To me, thinking about being vulnerable goes back to that energy of trial and error, right? Like not being afraid to fail, not being afraid to try again, try again. What did they say? How many times did it take Einstein to create the light bulb? Right, over 100 times he tried to create a light bulb, and it didn't work, and it didn't work, and it didn't work. But it finally did, because now we have electric light. So you know, that vulnerability of allowing failure, allowing that trial and error, right? I mean, we've all done things that haven't worked. and we've learned, you know, it's a learning experience.
Was it Einstein that created the light bulb?
Well, was it? I think it was created
perfect.
simultaneously by a number of different people at the same time. He was the one who was able to market it, because
I keep
it was
saying Robin,
marketable.
it was
That's-
it was Edison, right, that created the light bulb. But
Edison,
then there
not
was
Einstein.
somebody.
Yes.
Yeah, you said Einstein. That's right.
Did I? I meant to say
Yeah.
Edison. Edison, Thomas Edison. Einstein. Yes. Maybe it was created within that Einstein-Rosen bridge and channeled to Earth.
Maybe he used the Einstein energy to create the light bulb.
But you know, because it was a mastermind group, and supposedly Nikola Tesla was really the one that did the last touch for Edison to be able to create that, because they became competitors, because Tesla was looking the way to get the right one and the cheaper one, and to distribute it like looking the way free energy for everybody. You know, it was a lot of competition in that scene.
Or maybe Tanya was beautifully illustrating her willingness to be vulnerable.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Perhaps one of the things that that we can do too in recalibration is when we have a word that triggers us, we can look at it and say, how can I redefine this word to myself and give myself permission to experience this word in another form? Because especially in the English language, the verbiage has been made to be backwards, so that it's doing they're telling us that it does the opposite of what it really does. So like, I found that especially lately, if there's something that really gets me, I'll look at it and I'll stop and say, how could I see it differently? Or when you're going to talk with someone and you're going to use a word a lot, you say, let me share my definition of the word of it. And, and you can tell me what yours is, so that we can, but at least you know what I'm talking about when I speak this word. So, Bashar is really big on giving self permission to change something. So give yourself permission to look at vulnerable as this feeling so safe within yourself that you can just go with it and let whatever they need to happen, and you'll be okay, or it's just redefining, recalibrating.
So, which leads me to the last point that I've made doing my homework. I'm not saying anything. just I had mental strength. I've put mental strength down because we're talking about vulnerability and mental strength, you know, and there is no link because it's two different things. The mental strength will always remain. It's not going to change. There's nothing wrong with our mind. We need our mind to maneuver us through this life and many others. The mental strength will always maintain. And again, Djokovic to the rescue. The mental strength of the guy, coupled with the vulnerability. It's an energy, you got to look at it. It's two different things. Being vulnerable is not giving up your mental strength at all. In fact, it's embodying the mental strength without having to purposely push it forward. Because as soon as we do that, there's already something going on.
It's kind of like saying have emotional strength, Martina.
Yeah, but I'm talking about vulnerability. Yeah, same thing. Emotional, mental, you know, kind of thing. But I just want to say there is no diminishment of your mental capacities or emotional capacities, certainly not spiritual capacities, by allowing ourselves to be vulnerable. I think vulnerability for me, if I look at it right now, is basically taking out the dirt and the lie that we bought about vulnerability. It's just like, it's actually that distortion. And it's connected to the male and to the female. And it's very much connected to control and judgment. Not
I just want
strength. Go.
I just want to say, Martina, that I looked up some of the synonyms for the word vulnerable, and what they have listed is, the first is in danger, at risk, endanger, unsafe, unprotected, unguarded, exposed. Those are some of the synonyms.
Yeah, we need a new dictionary. God.
Yeah,
God.
I think so.
yeah. It's very, very.
Oh.
So that's one of the reasons I don't like to use the word vulnerable. I don't want to be in the category of all those synonyms: in danger, at risk, endanger, unsafe, unprotected, unguarded, exposed.
If you get it, then you are lost just from the first step.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Exposed, though, is an interesting one, because if, going back to Djokovic again, if he didn't step into that place of exposure and vulnerability, the possibility being, the vulnerable place is, I could lose. I don't know if I'm going to win. I could lose this. He stepped into it all the same in order to bring out his self with grace. And I think that's where the beauty was in the combination of the two. But he couldn't have achieved it without stepping onto the vulnerable ground of, I don't know if I'll win here, because nobody does know anything for certain.
That's beautiful. I love that. And you know what? It's almost like vulnerability is an energy that goes hand in hand with something else. With that mental strength, because you know, every time he couldn't take Kyrgios because his serve is tremendously fast, he couldn't take it. Now it required more of mental strength.
Yes.
And Lana, this is what we're trying to say here. Look at it, see if you can play with that. He had to be more mentally strong, courage, determined to try to return it. But if he would have gone into control and ego, he would have never been able to do it. And he actually returned.
Exactly.
And that required the vulnerability. He didn't go into judgment and say, fuck you, Kyrgi, and throwing all that. No, he said,
yeah.
But I hear what you're saying. It's not defined as it's not so open because it is so misidentified.
But it's really being your, like, completely unapologetically yourself without any care of what anybody else is going to think. It's just putting yourself out there for whoever you are and just not giving a shit.
Beautiful.
Right?
Beautifully
I think too, you know, I think about the way that I'm vulnerable in the work that I do, the way I expose sometimes situations or experiences that have happened to me when I'm working with clients, to help them understand that they're not alone in what they're going through. Right. So it can bring that exposure can bring people kind of together in the sense that we're not alone in this process that we're going through, this raising of the frequency of Earth Mother back to her 7th dimensional seed planet, right? Opening up to our multidimensional blueprint. Yeah, shit, we fall on our faces all the time, right? We make mistakes, and that's okay. It's part of the process. And allowing, I don't always have to, even though I'm holding space as a healer and a teacher, right? I don't always have to be, well, so strong that there's a wall here, right? So as we're all sharing with each other, we are becoming more open-hearted, I think, because that is the way forward to me. And that is fearless.
And as we're sharing, we're becoming more exposed.
More vulnerable.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we also have to say, well, I don't really give a fuck what anybody else thinks about that.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's why we need a new word to replace, because I was looking up again there, and there are some other synonyms for vulnerability, and it gets even worse.
So let's do that.
Yeah. So
Before we close off, let's do that. Let's just look at the opposite. What every single one, we've got 3, 6, 9 people here. What is your word for today? And it might change tomorrow, for the opposite of vulnerability. Who wants to start?
Courage.
Courage.
I said bold.
Bold.
Closed.
Closed.
The opposite of vulnerability to me is closed.
Oh, okay.
undefeatable.
Closed. Undefeatable, yeah.
Guarded and protected.
Guarded and protected. Tom?
Defensive.
Defensive.
Assured.
So has everyone said their word? For me, it's non-judgement. So we can already, and now I need to point this out because it's interesting. I asked for the opposite of vulnerability and how we all defined it very differently. Because we have courage, which is towards something else, away from vulnerability, right? Towards. We have bold, and we have non-judgment. So think of those 3. They are towards, they're seeing vulnerability as a negative and bringing the opposite in, yeah? Through courage, boldness, and non-judgment. And then we have 3 more. The opposite of vulnerability is closed, guarded, and defensive. You see the difference how people perceive stuff? Because 3 people here perceived vulnerability as a negative and gave us the opposite as positive. And 3 people perceived it as a positive and gave us the opposite. as negative. That is a beautiful example how we keep talking by each other, because we all have a different way of perceiving energies, values. These are values. How interesting is that? And there is no right or wrong. Yeah, there's none of that. It's just how we are all filtering through our experiences, and how we are, I don't know what else, you know, how the way we think, we all think differently. It's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah.
But either one is important to look at, because now look at the ones, the courage, bold, and non-judgment. They are forward looking towards, this is a towards value, versus the other three are away from values. And just in this particular context, yeah. So whoever had a away from value can now look at that. How is closed still a trigger point for me? How is guarded, protective, defensive still a trigger point for me? And then, of course, how can I work on the courage and the boldness and the non-judgment? And hey, yeah, I'm working on it. So it's so interesting, right?
Yeah.
I really love that. I love the show today. This was so good.
Yes, great.
So thank you, Djokovic. Thank you, Wimbledon. Thank you, Kyrgios, for being such amazing leaders, to let us leaders step into our potency and come up with some stuff here. Loved it. Before we're going to close off, any closing words from anyone? Anyone wants to say anything?
I have one thing. So I just got this new crystal yesterday, and it's called chrysoprase. And the chrysoprase is like a dark green color, kind of a little hard to see in this light, but it is the energy, it holds the energy of fearless movement. So let us all move forward fearlessly in our lives and our
Yay.
Lovely. Thank you.
Thank you to everyone for being so vulnerable to come on here and to bring our, ourselves boldly and barely and naked in front of everyone who's gonna look at us. Right.
Thank you.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.